I recently taught a class, and one of the things that everybody was struggling with was installation, which is actually quite simple. It's really 3 steps. 1, we're asking whether the positive cognition has changed. 2, we're asking for a VOC. And 3, we're pairing the original memory with that positive cognition. And so if the VOC on the positive cognition is only a 5, we're pairing it with the original memory and doing fast sets to see if we can bump it up, get it up to a 7 for that final installation and installing it again. And we can do sets on that to make it as strong as possible. Now, if it's not a 5 or a 6 and it doesn't look like it's moving up, that's when we stop and ask, what's keeping it from being a 7? And then we can look for blocking beliefs or a feeder memory. But if it's really starting out at a 2 or a 3, and it's an irrational or impossible positive cognition, then you as the therapist needs to stop the client and discuss it before allowing them to pick it. Had somebody on a call ask me, well, I couldn't get it up to a 7. And I said, well, what was that positive cognition? And they said it was, I'm magnificent. And I said, it would be hard pressed to find somebody that doesn't have any trauma to get, I'm magnificent up to a 7. I said, so that's up to you to recognize that's not going to go to a 7 and to discuss it with the client to come up with something that's more valid, that we can get up to a 7. For example, if you've got a client who has picked I'm magnificent, I think that on its face is pretty obvious for most of us. It's going to be very hard to get that up to a 7, especially for a client who's experienced trauma. Even sometimes, if you've got a client with complex trauma and you're just doing the first or second target from their childhood on abuse or neglect, and they've gotten their sets to a 0, and now they want their positive cognition to be, I'm lovable. And when you ask what the VOC is on that, they say it's a 2 or a 3. Well, it's a 2 or a 3 because while this particular target memory has cleared, they might have 20 other target memories that have taught them that they're not lovable. So I would encourage the client to change it to something like, I'm good enough, I'm okay, because I know we're going to get those to a 7 on this particular target. And I explain that our goal through processing, eventually we're going to get I'm lovable to a 7. We're just not ready for it quite yet.